Hi there.
Hi. I think it's always fun to see that little
Well,
switch
and it won't
around.
I always try and add you first, hoping it would just put you on the left-hand side, but it never does, so then I have to play, ring around
Yeah,
the
that's cool.
screen.
That's funny. Yeah.
Well,
It's
part of
just
it's
like
the
a
way
little merry-go-round there at the beginning.
my camera's set up, otherwise I'd be looking at you like it just doesn't
Yeah.
it doesn't have
Right.
the same effect
Right.
or whatever. Well,
Yeah, cool.
whatever.
Yeah.
Welcome, everybody, welcome. I'm Tricia Broderick,
I'm Diana Larsen.
and we co-wrote Lead Without Blame. And
Hmm.
we keep coming back together once a month on various topics that might be building off of what we had in the books, sometimes topics we wish we had put in the book, sometimes topics that are kind of coming up, partially just as an opportunity for us to keep staying connected and engaging with each other, but also as an opportunity to connect with all of you and just to continue to engage in these topics around leadership and
Hmm.
why it's so such a passionate topic for both of us,
Right.
as we're going forward.
Right.
But where are you calling in from today?
I am outside of Frankfurt, Germany, in a sort of a retreat center, workshop space in the middle of a nature park. So it's
So Wi-Fi
gorgeous
is
here.
going to
The
be great.
birds,
Wi-Fi is going
the
to just hold out strong for us.
yeah, it's called Ruckersbach, and Ruckersbach Zentrum Seminars, something that I don't know in German. And but it's an amazing place. The birds are singing all the. I mean, you can just tell nature is happy here, and so it's a really lovely place to be. But I'm at the Agile Coach Camp Germany for this week, and the lighting in this room is really strange. I think I'm getting the TV, the hotel room TV is right in front of me and has a red light that stays on all the time. And I think that's what's getting reflected in my face. But
Eh,
anyway, oh
I mean,
well. But it'll fit the theme. It
yeah,
fits the theme for the day.
it does fit the theme today. Do you want to highlight the theme for today?
Everything's coming up roses. See how rosy I look?
It's
So
rosy there visually. It's in your environment. You're talking about
yeah,
nature. I mean,
right,
it
right,
seems like we planned this, which we are
right.
not that good.
No, but we're not that good. No, we just take advantage of things that happen. But so the idea being, everything's coming up roses. It's like, how do we handle success? How do we handle when things are going really well? What do we make? What meaning do we make of that? And just topics all around roses.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And we realize, like, for a lot of people, like, this is things do not seem like everything's coming up roses right
right.
now for a number, but I think that's actually part of this is when you do start to look at it as roses, you start to see
Hmm.
more roses too, right?
Right.
And so I just read a book called 59 Seconds by Richard Wiseman.
Ah,
He was a keynote at Craft Conference. Phenomenal keynote. Like, it was one of those keynotes that are like, oh, I gotta up my game. Like
yeah, right.
it
Yeah.
was it was just good. And so I was reading the book, and one of the highlights that he was calling attention to is how to improve your life in like 59 seconds, right?
Right.
Was that gratitude thing, which we've talked about in the past with it, but how, looking at things as roses, like seeing the benefits, seeing the good, even when it's crappy, even
Right.
when it's seems like it's raining, right? What's the positive?
Right.
What's the rose? What's the beauty in things? And so we want to acknowledge, our disclaimer up front is, if you are in the thick of crap right now, we're not saying just pretend and have happy face and everything's roses, okay? So
Right.
just we're highlighting that in general, okay? But
Right.
overall, how do you start to see those opportunities, see those roses, having things then start multiplying
Yes.
and cascading from that? So what's something well, actually, I want to start here for a second. I'm
Yeah.
toast it up for a second. What's the current rose you have right now?
Well, I'm in the middle of a very weird kind of situation. I gave a keynote at XP 2024 last week, And on the 1st and 2nd of July, I'm giving another keynote at a conference called Agile World. Because of things that happened in my life, I didn't really get a chance to plan how I was going to get from the end of one conference to the beginning of the other. So I had these 3 weeks of undefined time. I mean, a couple of people tried to put something together and it just didn't work for them. And I'm actually still asking for help with that. But so I decided to frame it as my experiment in adaptive planning. I just get a little bit of information and then figure out what I want to do next. But the rose for me is I had the XP community, and I've got and I'm at the German coach camp with another bunch of lovely people, and I've put some things out on LinkedIn and different places to just say I'm looking for help on how to spend these 3 weeks, and the roses aren't that so much that people are offering me help, although they are, but just that I feel like I'm part of a community where I can ask for something like that, where I can ask for that kind of help. And a couple of really cool things have already happened that, got me through a few days. And so I'm just really eager to see what else is going to happen, what's going to come up next. But I know it will be something. I know that something will emerge because I just have this really great community of people who will, tell me about things that they would like me to do, or ask me to come to their house and stay in their spare room. I don't know, but it's an experiment. It's an adaptive planning experiment. It's a opportunity for me to see where opportunities emerge out of this kind of crazy world we're in, and I'm excited about it. I decided to be excited about it as opposed to being scared by it.
Yeah.
And I believe I have the support to make that a reasonable thing to do. That I'm not just jumping off a cliff, right? That there's I have some. I think it's kind of a safe to fail experiment.
Yeah, it's reasonable, right? But it's open, right?
It's open, yeah. It's undefined at this point, yeah.
So playing off of that, right?
Right.
There's the rose, right? But like one of the coolest things is you see the next rose, right? Like you see a new. So what has there been a surprising rose that be within this adaptive planning, right?
Yes.
Like that's
Yeah.
that scaling things that you're like, I would not have been in this nature preserve if
right. Yeah, right. Well, I knew that this camp was happening, this coach camp was happening, but I also knew that I should have, if I wanted to come to it, I should have registered like at the end of March. So, but I didn't because other things were going on in my life. And so I registered very late and I was 14th on the waiting list. And so it was not at all a sure thing that I would be able to come here, but different things happened and made it possible for, I got an email from the organizers and said, if you want to come, there's a space for you. And so, yeah, I said, sure, of course I do. But the other cool one that I think has been there, I mean, there have already been some small ones, and one that really made me feel good, and I really enjoyed, was last year at the Big Agile Conference. I met just very briefly John Kern. And he was one of the Agile Manifesto signers. I've met a lot of them, but he was one I had not met yet. But we just met and sort of became a little bit acquainted.
Slightly intimidating having him in our session at the conference. Slightly.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, so he was at XP 2024 as well as part of the Reimagine Agile thing that's going on, which sounds pretty cool, actually. So as we were talking about how were we going to be leaving the conference, because I didn't have that figured out yet, I mean, I could take a train, or I could go to Trento and fly, or, I mean, I knew there were options. I just hadn't chosen one. He said, well, I rented a car and I'm driving back to Munich. And I said, do you like to drive alone, or would you like company? And so he said, no, I'd enjoy the company. So it's like about a 4-hour drive. And so we decided on the day after the conference and it turned out we were both staying in the same hotel too. So that sort of helped things. And he said, why don't we just leave?
Oh no, her Wi-Fi is gonna go out. I now feel like a listener right now going, no. This happened when we were just setting up briefly, and so it took about 30 seconds or
early.
So. There we go. She's coming back. Hold on, give her a second. It's coming back. Okay, so you decided you stopped, pause for a second. So where you paused in the story is that you decided to get in the car the next day.
Yeah, we decided to get in the car the next day, and we realized that the archaeological museum in Bolzano, which is where we were, where Ötzi, the Iceman that was discovered in the Alps, is all about him. And so we decided to go there together, first thing in the morning, and then leave for Munich later. And so it just turned out to be a delightful day. John took a picture. It's up on LinkedIn somewhere of the two of us. And we had some great conversations. I've always been curious about FDD, feature-driven development. So I got a chance to ask him about it. And we exchanged stories of, how do we get to where we are now? And it was just a lovely time. And it just popped up. So, so we got to Munich, and he got on his airplane, and pardon?
I said, that's the definition of everything's coming up roses right there.
Yeah, right. It just worked out well, really well. And I had already been in a hotel in Munich that I really enjoyed being in. So I just booked another night there, and then the next day went to Frankfurt to meet another colleague because we over the course of this thing had decided that we wanted to do some work together. And so we needed to be in the same place at the same time. And so this was an opportunity to do that. So we did some writing together, and I'm excited about what we're going to be able to publish. And then I came to the coach camp. So none of that was planned when I left Portland.
Well, I think that's one of the tips that does create that everything is coming up roses feeling is the flexibility, right? Being willing to be flexible, being willing to react in the moment, to adapt, to being open to what might happen, right? Versus and as my check mark list brain can struggle with this at time, right? But going, what's next? What can we, what's the next step? And having kind of that freedom allows for the surprises to happen, allows for the wonderful serendipity kinds of feeling moments and experiences. And sometimes we, myself included, get so locked into our schedules, so locked into our planning, so locked into like control that we then only notice what's not going right only notice what's going wrong instead of what might be surprising you in a good way.
Yeah. And serendipity, that just really has been the word that's been on my mind the whole time. It's so far that's working really well for me. So awesome. What's your story of coming up roses?
Oh, I don't think I can follow that. Like, that is phenomenal, man. I've just been at home. Actually, I came off a month of May. That was just wonderful, of just wonderful opportunities.
Yeah.
But I think for me, it's been a little bit more where I've had to be intentional. Like, so we just talked about the tip of flexibility, right? The other tip that I would give is really being intentional with recognizing the positives, right? And so people could say, oh, this month seems really slow, or oh, I didn't end up getting in that one conference that I really wanted to get into, right? But I spend a lot of time being very intentional about gratitude. So I'll write an appreciation blog post. I try and do summaries of things. I take that extra minute to kind of go, oh, let's celebrate this thing, even if it's not even really my win, it's somebody else's. Like today, I got a call from somebody who's been looking for work for several months, and he is going to get 2 offers today. And it was just like this, like nothing can be wrong for today. Like, and it wasn't even my win. It was just, I was so happy for him. Right. But the minute I put myself in that headspace of like, here's an awesome thing, I start noticing other awesome things. And like, I immediately, like my cheeks already hurt from smiling at your story. Right. Like, I have that feeling now today that no matter what happens for the rest of the day, I mean, obviously some things can happen, but like generally I'm already in a good spirit, right? I'm already looking for like, oh, what can we do next? Maybe we could do this or do those things. And so for me, my roses have been small, but cool, meaning like they've had amplifying power for me of like, okay, what's my next step now? Like, and so it gives me the motivation to be flexible, to engage in those things as we're going forward.
Yeah, it's those little sweetheart roses, those little baby tiny
nice. Nice, yeah.
That like, often come in bunches, right? They come in.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love that. But see, if we were good, we would have AI involved in this and we'd immediately pop up like sweetheart roses right away. Like, right?
Oh, wow.
But like, that's really is the case for me. I've had like all these really cool little engagements, little moments, little interactions, little connections that just fill my energy, fill my ability to look at the positives in the world. And I've been getting a little bit better at especially like, as I mentioned that book, like, but Gottman's research of like 5 to 1, right? I need 5 of these roses to deal with, you know, something that's hard, and you can't just wait, right? You can't just go to the store, buy 5 roses and then go, okay, now hit me. Like, it's got to be a constant accumulation. And I'm trying to do really little things. Like one of the little things that I'm doing is I interact with a person in our community, right? And every day we kind of share what our best part of the day is.
Yeah.
Nice. And it's such a little sweetheart rose, right? But it's a thing that helps me to always see the positive, see the good, even when it's hard, even when it's been difficult in different ways, right? And then the shocking thing is once you start saying like, oh, and then I got this call, and then we're doing this, and now I'm going to do this, and like, and I just feel that energy flowing because of it.
Well, and I want to bring it back to a little bit to the book. I mean, I think these are things like in the book, we talk a lot about leaders and how they're interacting with teams and so on. But we also talk about, you know, what leader behaviors will support them the most. And I think like our 4 C's model, that there's now a comparative agility assessment out there for the 4 C's model is like, oh, here. A rose could be, oh, I did this courageous thing today. You know, I tried something new and I did this courageous thing today. Oh, I was compassionate and supported my one of my team members in order doing this thing, or I really showed the confidence that they needed, or I understood this complex issue in a new way. Or, you know, I mean, those are roses too that you can collect as you build your skills at becoming a leader who without blame, right? A leader who doesn't lean on blame to make things happen, but leans on learning and resilience and the things that teams can really step up to if we give them the right environment and the right
making
chance.
it a continual habit, not just a feedback sandwich kind of situation by any means. Right. But creating an environment that you're role modeling as well as wanting with it.
Yeah. And that's another rose that we worked with the comparative agility people, and they made this very cool assessment. And, you know, it's not something we were going to do, but they said, hey, how about this? And would you partner with us on it? And it was like, oh, somebody handed me a rose that I never expected to get,
Yeah. And
That
we've
was
had
a good one.
several of those. I mean, honestly, like our book is like the gift that keeps on giving for me in so many ways,
Yeah.
because we've had the Miro template, but just also what people have highlighted. Like I had somebody that was like, did you bring a book extra? Right. Like it just,
Yeah.
and just seeing the excitement of getting them to, read it, or watching somebody's like, and they have all the sticky notes in it and things like these.
Right.
These are all just roses if we're willing to look at them and see
Yeah.
them and that's the it can be challenging at times, but that's the beauty, right, of these things. Well, we're at time already, and we're gonna have to start thinking about how to make these longer.
We do not want to try the patience of our listeners.
I know, but I
Yeah.
just could talk to you for hours, man.
I know.
So what do you have coming up? We know that you're still adaptive right now, but in general.
Right. Well, I have the Agile World Conference coming up July 1st and 2nd. If you're in the neighborhood of Munich or can get into the neighborhood of Munich, that's going to be a very cool conference. The other keynoter is a person I've not met, but she sounds fascinating and I can't wait. But I keep running into other people who are giving talks there, or and there's going to be a wonderful panel on about leadership issues and leadership and teams. I can't remember the exact title of it right now, but it's me and Daria Smite, who's an amazing researcher, and Karen Eigels, yes, anyway, who's done some amazing research into autonomy and what is it called? Self-determination theory, which I find fascinating. So that's coming up. I don't know if I'm going to be at the big Agile conference yet. That's still kind of a big question mark for me. But in October, I'll be at the Pacific Northwest Software Quality Conference, which is a software conference that's been going on for well over 30 years now. And just it's focused more on quality and testing, but of course, all of those things end up touching each other. And so I'm looking forward to that and pretty excited about that. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. I have my next conference is Agile Alliance 2024. I'll be there the whole week. And then I do have 2 keynotes, but I don't think I can announce either one of them yet, but they're not till like October. So I'm like the roses. I'm wanting that rose to be packaged up for me and getting that, but they're coming up, but they're both not till October. One will be in the Denver area, one will be on the East Coast of the United States. I do have public classes coming up. I don't do them very often, but I actually am doing a public CSM this month. Again, a rose, right? I had a client that was like, I only have 3 people and I need to do a CSM. Like, can you just create a public one? And I did. And then a number of other people. I think there's only 1 spot left in it, but I'm doing a June CSM, a Certified Scrum Master course. What is Agile? What is Scrum? And there's a lot of people that end up taking it and they're like, they took it because they needed the cert, and then they end up going, oh, so I didn't know what Agile and Scrum was. Is often what can kind of happen. But my other leadership-based courses, public ones, are starting to come up in August. So I have a facilitation, like how do you help teams make decisions? And I have the Leading Amazing Teams, really focused on building coaching skills in our leaders, both in August, publicly available with that. And then we have our next live date scheduled for July 12th. So lots of things coming up, and we're both experimenting. We're both trying different things. If you have comments, you have requests, send them our way. We're willing to talk.
Yeah. Well, and I would just like to plug that July is going to be the theme, and the topic then is going to be purpose.
Yes.
And how purpose acts in our lives. And so I hope we'll get a good number of people join us for that one, because I think it's going to really resonate.
Perfect. Well, we'll see you next time.